to Career Development Conversations. This is our second segment. I'm Taylor Colin.
Jonathan Tomka.
And our special guest,
Josh Nungesser.
Welcome, Josh. We're excited that you decided to join us today.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
So first, we'll give a little bit of an intro to Josh. Josh is an agent over at the KW Excel office. He is also the productivity coach at Excel and over here at Capital Partners. So we thank you for doing service to both of the market centers. You also, in a very short amount of time, you were licensed in 2018, is that correct?
Correct.
So Josh was the Rookie of the Year over at the Excel office. He was also nominated and won the Top 10 Under 40 Award in 2019, is that correct?
Yeah.
He is also on the Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Committee with the Columbus Board, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in 2020, listen to this, so this is just in 2 short years, his sales volume was north of $10 million with 42 sides. That's pretty remarkable.
I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, well, you
There
should
could always be more though.
You should be.
Good for you.
And also, we want to make sure he points out Josh has a lovely wife named Kristen, and he has 3 young boys, Jackson, Samuel, and Eli.
Got it.
Look at that smile.
Yeah. Yeah, my 7-year-old just lost his first tooth. I actually got to pull it today, so I'm a part of the rest of his story, so I'm excited about that. I'm also excited to be here with you guys. I met Taylor like my very first month in real estate. So I got licensed, and then I decided to take that bold step in my career and attend Bold. And I actually did it with a scholarship. I don't know if we do scholarship here, but if you've ever thought about it, it's an awesome opportunity to go learn and stretch yourself a little bit. So I walk into Bold for the very first time. I have no idea what to expect. And I see this strapping young man here in front of me, and we just started talking and hit it off. And he ended up being my table captain. Yeah. And over the course of that 7 weeks or whatever it was, we got a chance to really get to know each other. And I actually, may not know this, I only went for the 10 Under 40 award because I saw it on your wall. And I said, tell me about that.
Yeah.
And you told me what that was, and I said, well, internally, I'm like, well, I'm gonna get that too.
That's awesome.
So competition, but friendly competition, and you really helped me launch my career, so I'm appreciative to you.
Well, thank you. And I see all the amazing things that you're doing with a lot of the new agents, so thank you for that, for making our market center better.
Good on you, man. You do. You make a lot of people around here better. And likewise, when your name came up as somebody that we were going to have a conversation with, I mean, this was your biggest champion. So you guys really have mutual appreciation and respect for each other.
Except for his golf game, I respect everything about him other than his golf game.
Just because I take money from you on the course every time, right?
Gosh, yeah.
I like where this is going. So Josh, tell us a little bit about your background.
All right, so I grew up here in Central Ohio in the Hilliard area, and worked my way, I started at Walmart when I was 16 years old, and kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder while in high school, and then going to the Ohio State University. Got my degree in photography, so really flexing that muscle right now. But through the process, I worked my way up through department manager at Walmart, assistant, co, and then ultimately became a store manager. I spent 20 years at Walmart, and the thing that I came to value was the importance of culture, the importance of understanding how to run a business, like an actual business, not just, hey, I made some money and let's go spend it, right? But ultimately, I kind of harken back to when I was growing up. I got a chance to see my mom come home from work every single day and complain about her job. And there was something that really wears on you as a kid when you see your parent struggling. And just feel like their soul's being eaten. And so I told myself, I was probably 10 years old when this started, like, I'm never gonna do something that I don't really enjoy doing. So I made it through 20 years. Along the way, I met my wife at Ohio State. We ended up moving to Cincinnati for 10 years, loved that town. But then we had our first child, and now we decided to move back about 5 years ago to Columbus, just to be closer to family and make it a little bit easier. But throughout that process, 20 years at Walmart, 70, 80-hour work weeks. It was great when I was a young young dude, freshly married, it was cool. But then you throw a kid into the mix and wanting to attend soccer games or holidays even, and that just wasn't in the cards. And so kind of going back to that lesson that I learned at a young age, like I was starting to get burnt out. And so I decided to pursue something else. And I didn't know what that something else was. Honestly, I kind of went through a winding road. It led me to HR first because I love working with people. At my biggest store, I ran an $82 million super center with 362 associates. And so like teaching and training those people was kind of where my passion was, and helping them get to where they wanted to be. And so HR I thought was a good avenue to go, and I just couldn't find a job there. And so I kind of went back and said, what else do I love? I really enjoyed my house search. And I think that I'll be able to build people's wealth and really help them through the biggest transaction they'll ever see in their lives. But also, and almost more importantly, I'm gonna have a flexible schedule for my kids. I won't have to work every night and weekend, and I'm gonna be directly responsible for my bottom line at the end of the day.
Right.
And that was probably the most appealing thing, because I know that I'm gonna be successful in anything I do. I've got a chip on my shoulder. I don't know where it came from. I think probably growing up in sports, where I was always on a winning team. And the reason we won was because we worked our asses off every practice and every game, and it always went through the playing field. And in this game called life, it's important to me that we set a goal and we achieve that goal. And so I've always kind of lived by that mantra, and I love the heck out of what I'm doing now. So got a chance to start out as a solo agent. My first 2 years, decided that I needed a little bit of leverage going into that third year because I was starting to be stretched a little bit thin. So I hired what started out as a showing assistant, then turned into an admin, then she got licensed, and so the team kind of grew from there. And then about a year ago, almost to the date, is when I started productivity coaching. I started at Excel, and then Capital Partners had the need. And going back to my days at Walmart, I really love teaching and training and seeing people achieve their goals. And it's been an awesome year, getting a chance to work with, I think we've got 36 people in the coaching program now all together, and seeing people really hit their milestone and exceed those has been awesome for me.
Good for you.
That was a lot of information. Thank you for sharing that. I want to go back to family, because you have 3 young boys, and I believe Eli is, how old's Eli?
He's almost 4 months old now.
4 months old.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at your numbers. I'm saying 10,042 sides, and that was in 2020. I also have 2 children at home, and one of the big struggles we have within my household is how do you juggle time, weekends, how do you have the ability to say no, that sort of thing. So walk me through your first year, your schedule, what that looked like, and how that family work balance worked for you, because obviously it worked for you if you're able to grow to where you got, if that makes sense.
Sure. So I try to go through life with a word of the year, I guess you could say. So the first year, and I get my wife to buy in. So my wife and I do something really cool. We take a retreat at the start of every year, and we establish family goals. And we do it within 5 different capitals, we call them, of life. So one of those is spiritual, physical, financial, intellectual, and relational. And so within those 5 different facets of life, you can pretty much sum up everything that you want to do as a family, but gain buy-in from your partner. And so going back 3 years ago when we started this journey, I planted the seed with her like, hey, this first year or 2, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of hours because we got to build this plane, right? And I use the analogy, getting off the runway expends a lot of fuel, right? But that's what we're doing in this industry. So honestly, year 1 was saying yes to pretty much everything that came my way, and to a fault. I attended every single training that I possibly could. I was a total sponge my first year, and you know how Keller Williams operates. There's something every day of the week, and that's great to a detriment, because sometimes you say yes to that and you say no to what your one big thing is, which is lead generation, right? Mm-hmm. And so I found myself doing that. I course corrected a little bit because I had a productivity coach that helped me get to where I was. But honestly, year 1, I probably said yes to too much. I was probably not present. And then kind of course correction, going into year 2, starting off with that year beginning summit with my wife, we talked about, hey, correction of errors, like although you left Walmart, you still pulled a lot of hours last year. Mm-hmm. And that included nights on your phone, on the couch, although you were physically present with us, you weren't there mentally. And that's something that, like, you only get one chance with your kids. And I'm gonna choose them over work 100% of the time going forward. So learn from your mistakes. Identify that you have a problem, and if you don't have a wife or a spouse, like, have somebody in your life, whether it's a coach or a buddy, who's gonna willingly put you in check every now and then. Because year 2, it got a little bit easier to say no to things, because I understood that people don't care if you're not available right this minute to answer their call. As long as you quickly respond, hey, I'll call you in the next 2 hours, I'm just eating dinner. Or I have an appointment with my family at 6 o'clock, it's a soccer game, they don't even know what that is,
Right.
though, right? So people are respectful of that, and I've not lost a single client because I told them I can't do this right this minute. That's a key learning that I wish I would have known day 1. But in terms of, making time for my family, I start the week by planning my schedule with family first. If we operate in terms of Gary Keller or Keller Williams, the way we should operate our lives, God, family, then work, then everything's gonna work out in terms of work, as you'll build that foundation that everything else at home is good.
I think one of the most important things that I'm inferring out of listening to this is you are gaining control, right? Control of your time translates to control of your business. And I think for a brand new agent who might be coming into productivity coaching, when they want flexibility, one hard truth about our business is flexibility is earned, right? And like you mentioned, lead generation. If we're not gonna be in an open house on Sunday, the confidence to do that means I need to know that I can generate leads on Monday when I am at work, right? A lot of people kind of mesh those two focuses. When they're at home, they're thinking about work, and when they're at work, they're thinking about home. So knowing that you lived through that, like in retrospect, what is some advice that you could share with somebody brand new that could maybe learn from your experience and speed up the learning curve from 2 years to, hey, productivity coaching, I mean, I'm gonna give you some things that I learned, and here's how, the why and the how.
Boy, that's a great question. So there are 2 major things that I've found myself coaching to the last 2 or 3 months more than anything, because as our program continues to grow and we get more agents, we're getting, we have to revisit this more and more consistently, because we've got that revolving door of people coming in. The one thing that I focus on more than anything is your schedule.
Okay.
And so I encourage everyone in coaching to either download your Google Calendar, whatever. The best calendar is the one you're gonna use, right? And so for me, it's my Google. I literally will get it out on a coaching call, and I will show people, if it's not on here, it doesn't exist. That's another bold rule, right? If it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. And the thing I preach to people is, it sounds a little backwards, but I say, okay, pull out your calendar, look at your week, do this on Sunday evening or Monday morning, first thing, so that you're establishing your priorities for the week. Start with things at home, right? And so your kid's soccer game, okay, well, I'm not gonna miss that. And even put that one in red, because that's a stop sign. Like, don't schedule over that. Or if you've got a church event, a volunteer event, whatever that looks like. And then go into your appointments and all that stuff. But when you get done with your family and your faith stuff, from 9 to 11, I preach the 9 to 11 because it's an open book. Anyone heard of this book called MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent? It's a guide to becoming a millionaire. And I coach to this verbatim. 9 to 11 is when they say to do it. So they're smarter than I was. Those 100 agents they interviewed, those millionaires out there, probably smarter and more advanced technologically than I am. So why not steal shamelessly? So from 9 to 11, that should be the second time block that goes in after you've done with your time, your family time. And then after that, it's appointments in the afternoon. So we really just coach to that. The other thing we talk about a lot is lead generation, and how, go back to what my mom taught me. Like, I don't want to do things that I hate to do. And I think that's all human nature, right? So find a way that works for you. We've been talking about a silver bullet in real estate. I heard it talked about earlier today, and I talk about this with every coaching. There's no silver bullet. It's work, but it's got to be intentional work. It can't just be, oh, my schedule's clear from 9 to 11 on Monday. 9 o'clock comes and you're like, okay, what am I gonna do to lead generate?
Right.
Because you're already playing from behind. But if you have a system for that, so Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm gonna cold call, because I don't mind doing that. Cool. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm gonna go door knock. I'm gonna pick a farm. That's a system. That's a smart, intentional system, versus us just saying, 9 to 11, I need to go generate some leads.
Well, and I'm gonna hit on something real quick. It's funny, I think I heard Gary Keller in the podcast say this. He goes, it's so funny when we're getting ready to go to the movies, we'll go to the bathroom before the movie starts, we'll go get our food before the movie starts. We'll do all these things before the movie starts, so we don't miss the movie, but yet, once 9 o'clock happens, in 15 minutes, we're going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? These are things that we don't like to do, so how do you prepare yourself for that lead generation so you're in an effective mind state to do it effectively?
And to that point, it's a muscle you need to exercise, especially day one. Like, I didn't love cold calling, and yet year one, I knew that I had to generate leads essentially out of nowhere because my sphere was relatively small, and I needed something else, right? I already called all them, sent mailers out to them, and been in their ears. And day one, you pick up the phone. That first call is the hardest, right? Every single day. Just make the hardest call first, and then it gets easier and easier. You perfect your scripts, and then you realize, man, I don't mind getting hung up. It's kind of funny anymore. Like, I generate some fun stories from the FUs and the leave me alones and all that stuff. So, over time, you'll build that muscle, and it'll become a strength of yours, whereas you initially didn't anticipate that being one.
So I would imagine you've grown your sphere, right, since 2018 to now. What other forms of lead generation have you been successful at? And maybe I should back up. I want you to hit on your social media, because I know you run a few really cool social media games, a March Madness tournament, a few other things to get people buying into the things that you're passionate about. I know you're a sports guy, that sort of thing. Hit home on some of your social media stuff.
Again, going back to making real estate fun, like, we should enjoy doing this. This is an awesome gig. You can make it whatever it is you want, right? If you want to pay your utilities, you can sell a couple houses a year, or you can become a millionaire. And there's no other industry where you get to keep that job if you execute those goals. So I really enjoy having events. I love being in front of people. And I attended a really great session with a dude named Eric Forney. He's out of Indianapolis, and he runs a team where the only lead generation they really do on the whole year is based around their events. They do these massive client appreciation things at movie theaters. They'll rent out the whole thing. Now, I don't know how it was impacted with COVID, but there's so many different things that you can do that aren't impacted at all by COVID. You can be smart. So last year we held, I want to say 3 or 4 events, and they were pretty fun. This year we've got a goal to have an event every single month. And they don't need to cost an arm and a leg. I don't need to rent out a theater. So in the month of March, what happens in March from a sports perspective? March Madness. And is it free to download the ESPN app and have them do all the hard work of keeping track of scores? Heck yeah, it is. All I need to do is a little bit of social media work to get people interested, and maybe pair with a vendor to help me offset a cost of giving away something. So we ended up giving away a TV, 55-inch TV, no name brand or whatever. Like, nobody cares at the end of the day. But throughout the course of that, we not only had the invite phase, which was 3 or 4 touches, but then throughout the course of the tournament, we had another, 4 weeks of the tournament, 4 touches, and then a big reveal of who won. Like, there's just so many touches. And so Gary Keller, we talk about 36 touch program and stuff. My social media probably accounts for like 30 touches, and then I go above and beyond with additional things. But a lot of people, me included, my very first year, we're talking about lead generation methods. I said no to social media because it just wasn't me. That was my lie I was telling myself.
Right.
When in actuality, I was just scared of it. It was a beast that I wasn't. I'm almost 40, and so it was a little bit newer to me. So Instagram, I didn't know what a hashtag even meant. I had to literally look it up. But 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? I got to do something different, and so I'm just going to post every single day on social media. So I had Instagram and Facebook. That action has propelled me exponentially forward in regards to my sphere. And I call it my sphere, even though half those people, I think if we look through our friends list, we don't even know half those people.
Right.
However, over the course of the next few months after I started that practice, I started getting calls from people I hadn't talked to since high school. Just last week, I ran into a dude I haven't seen in 25 years, but he's my Facebook friend. And I'm like, Brandon, is that you? He's like, yeah. Josh, is that you? Yeah, cool. We get to talking, and I said, what do you do? Because I didn't know.
Right.
He says, and you're in real estate, right? I'm like, boom. Like, that's the why we do this. And how much did I spend on that? It
Right.
was absolutely free. And I get to have fun with it.
Yeah, you dressed up like a basketball hero and did some sort of
That's
dunk.
my alter ego.
What?
That's my uncle or cousin. We gotta create some name for him. But anyways, I just have fun with it. I include my family. My kids love being on film. They think it's funny, and they don't know where it ends up. But
Right.
we use them, innocently enough, or shamelessly enough, like to generate like those cute posts. And it's not all about homes. It's honestly, it's probably 50-50, real estate to personal stuff. So today, I pulled my kid's tooth out, posted that stuff. You know,
Right.
like that's what people become endeared to. Most recently, it's become a little bit bigger than I feel confident being able to do myself, and I want to take some additional steps, especially with 2021. It's proven to be a challenging year in the real estate market. We got to do something different. If I stay doing what I did in 2020, odds are I'm going to stay at that 40, 42 homes plateau.
Yeah.
Got to change. So I hired a person, $100 a week. They helped me with their young person out of college. They got a marketing degree, and they know TikTok. They know YouTube and LinkedIn and stuff. And so for a very small fee, I'm able to kind of hit more eyeballs. And so it's really fun. And I enjoy the heck out of it. Events and social media, they can be cheap, they can be free. In a couple weeks here, we're having one at a brewery, just an appreciation thing.
Awesome.
It's not me asking for the business, it's just saying, hey, come on out. COVID's on its way out, let's kick it out and let's have a beer and let's just chit chat.
Good.
That's the sort of stuff that's gonna keep you, I call it Crest or Colgate in people's minds. You wanna just be top of mind, and those little events are fun ways of doing that.
Awesome. Go ahead. Which one do you have?
Yeah,
I think we should ask the motivation one if you ask me.
go ahead. I'll follow. No, go ahead.
What's, at the end of the day, Josh, why do you do what you do? What's like you get out of bed and you know you have to accomplish something, you have to regenerate. It may be painful, the first phone call that you make, like you said, but ultimately what's making you pick up that phone? What's your motivation?
Wow, that's a great question that we don't ask ourselves enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go back to what my mom taught me at a young age, and that's to continue to love what you do. So I wake up every morning, it's not really, you've heard that term, it's not a job if you love doing it. So I stay positive doing that. But in terms of motivation, with Walmart, 360 associates, I don't think I ever smiled bigger than when my stalker got a promotion to department manager. In this scenario, when a home buyer finally gets through and they win on their 8th offer,
Yeah.
that is a feeling unlike any other. Just the pride that I played a very small role in helping this person not only build wealth but build a legacy. This is bigger than us. I kind of use the mantra, work for tomorrow, not just today. So when you take that mindset into things, you understand that the work that I'm doing today will lend itself to production tomorrow. But in terms of helping a person today, they're building a legacy for their family. And then in terms of coaching, like hearing about a brand new agent. This is a true story. Brand new agent, been licensed for like 2 weeks. He calls me and says, hey man, I was just making cold calls like we talked about, and I got somebody. And then another week later, hey, I just attended an open house like we talked about, and I got a buyer, and I just got them pre-approved like we talked about. And then flash forward to today, this is like literally 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hey, I'm in contract, I got 2 in contract now. Like that gives me the feels right there, because I know that the little things that, the 5 minutes of conversation that we had, that person took to heart and is changing their future with each step. So I guess the motivation is honestly helping others. And if I'm able to receive something on the back end in terms of being able to help provide for my family, that's pretty awesome too.
I think they go hand in hand, right?
Absolutely.
The more people you're able to help, the more it's gonna help yourself, which is also gonna help your family.
That theory of reciprocity, like you do something good in the universe and the universe will reward it.
Right.
It's completely true, and especially when you operate from a foundation of faith. Like faith is really important in my life, and so understanding that, the Great Commission is to expand God's kingdom. Well, can we not just be a light in everything that we do and say here on earth? And I slip up all the time. I might say something negative or pessimistic, and I try and catch myself. And that's the beauty of growth and experience, is the more life you live, the more you understand when you're going the wrong way, and you can quickly go the opposite way.
Right.
Super important to be improving yourself every day.
Yeah.
Too.
So what you just mentioned, right? That small segment, those few minutes, they took it to heart. I have to feel like in listening to this conversation, it comes from the heart. Like you're a very authentic guy. You are very purposeful in everything that you do. You're a student from down to what you learned at a young age watching your mom and how you use that. I mean, that could have also been an excuse, but you use it to propel you to improvement, what you just mentioned. Let me focus on improvement. As I listen to you, you wear a lot of hats. Time management is a strength of yours, right? You're incredibly disciplined. You work through college. You have a family at home, 3 kids. You run a team. You're a productivity coach at 2 offices. You have done really well in 2 years. I want to know where you see yourself in the next 2. Where do you see it going? Doubling down. I mean, I can just tell that you are a fired up, driven person. Tell us what to expect in the next 2 years out of Josh Nungesser.
Man, yeah. So my old team leader at the other office had a sign out in front of his office, and it said, if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough. And it's funny, the little things that stick in your mind. So this year my goal is to double my business up to 80 transactions, 20 million. And so in my head, I've seen it double a couple years in a row now, and now I just think that's the way it should be. And so, in 2 years, we should be 150, 160 transactions, doing $30 to $40 million.
Why can't you?
There's no reason we can't.
There you go.
We got to keep doing the things we know, and this is where I go back to coaching, right? The efforts that we make today show up tomorrow. And so it can be overwhelming if we look at that 2 years out and say, here's the goal, that's too big of a mountain to climb. But the old saying, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with 1. So doing the right things today will lead to that, and it's kind of our mantra.
And I feel like in the background with Faith being such a leader, of your life, you're just sowing, right? Just constantly sowing. I mean, I could see that. I could see it in the way that you talk. You're just constantly sowing with the faith that it'll show up. It'll show up tomorrow, the next day, the next year. The right people will show up, and things just happen to kind of correlate, and the stars align, right?
Yeah.
It's good for you, man. That's something that I think everybody can use a little bit more of. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Productivity coach. You are in front of a lot of agents. So there's 36 in the program, right?
Yeah.
Some have great success, which we've already heard from. Where do you see the challenges of a new agent, and how do you overcome those challenges? Because I think hopefully there's people watching this and they're thinking to themselves, okay, so I'm hearing social media, lead generating, all these different things, and you put it in a calendar, you go and try and execute. Where do the challenges lie for new agents typically?
We get licensed, and this isn't for just new agents. This is an answer for you and everybody else out there, Brian Kemp and everybody. When we first get licensed, we think the phone's going to ring, right? And it inevitably doesn't. It all comes down to us taking action. We have to create our own business. And so for you, I know that if we flip the table and I said, what are your goals for a year from now? It's going to come down to you taking actions necessary to do those things. So regardless of what you hear here, it's all about not only just sitting down and putting the pen on paper and saying, here's my plan, but then you've got to go take action on it. That's what so few people want to do, honestly. And if we take our coaching program, or you take your brokerage, or you take any company out there, any business, a third of the people are going to be super highly engaged, and they're going to be the people that move the dial. A third of the people are going to be lukewarm, like, I'm okay if this succeeds, I'm okay if this fails. They're going to be okay. And then the third are going to be completely unengaged. And I hate to see the unengaged people when they have so much potential.
Right.
They're unengaged, either maybe they have a full-time job and they just want to, sell a house a year or whatever. Even those people have the chance to make incredible wealth for themselves if they just would apply, 5 hours a week of telling more people about their real estate. But at the end of the day, it all just comes down to action, and not being a person of words, but being a person of action. And when you start to take action, you'll start to see. There's a person who, I'm going to call a person out, Lisa. She is, she got licensed in November, and she hit the nail with her hammer for 3 months. And that nail was really slow to start going in. But she attended every single coaching. She was hungry, she was passionate, and now she's got, 5 or 6 in contract. So she's killing it. That's just one success story of a person who took action and took the bull by the horns. No one's going to do it for you in this industry. Even if you join a team, you're still expected to do certain things.
Right.
I chose to run the path of a solo agent, which I found to be beneficial for me in my life situation, because I didn't want to report to anyone else. I want to be directly responsible and rewarded for my own actions. A younger person without a sphere just moved to the area, maybe they need a team to get started or whatever. To each their own. At the end of the day, it comes down to action.
It's awesome.
I agree. I feel like we hear it all the time. The truly successful people will give you the recipe, because they know it's not the ingredients, it's what you do with it. It's the execution that separates the high achievers from maybe everybody else.
And Josh, you said something at the beginning of the interview in that you wanted to be in a professional situation where you were paid your value, right? And I feel like you come from corporate America, where I spent, I think all three of us did at some capacity, 10 years. And I always felt it when I was in the corporate world that I was always chasing my value. Because if you always get paid different than what your value is, you either get fired, demoted, because the ultimate goal is for the company to make money, right? And so now real estate is one of those industries where, if I decide I want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and read a book that's going to make my brain better, exercise, do these things, get in the office at 9 o'clock, lead generate, and then go and show appointments or go to an open house or shadow an experienced agent, you're going to get compensated based on those actions. But if you're also an agent that wants to throw on Good Morning America at 8 o'clock and watch it for 2 hours, and then do some passive lead generation for the next hour, and then watch TV for another hour, play Xbox or whatever, you're going to get compensated that way too. And so I think that it's, when you talk about action, it's purposeful action. It's action that is going to drive the value for the individual.
That's the beauty of this industry, isn't it?
It is.
Because who's to say that person who's watching Good Morning America isn't living their best life too?
Sure.
Right?
To
There's
each his own.
something to be said for that.
Yeah.
We, around this table, we want a little bit more probably, and that's why we're seeing more happen in our businesses.
Yep.
It's the expectations, right? It's not a linear compensation. Ours is a bell curve. Like when you say the jet uses all the fuel during takeoff and the ramp up, we are often not going to see the value of our efforts until we reach our climb to the apex of the bell curve, and then on the opposite side are the rewards. But that's reserved for the select few that can get there, right? So it's not the linear 9 to 5 or the corporate career. It's just a different path, but it's good.
We have a couple more questions.
Do
Are we time for rapid fire?
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
We need like some sort of graphic
total.
that goes rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. All right.
There's the voiceover.
So anyway, all right, first rapid fire question, Josh. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
I've thought about this. I love making fun of other realtors that do the chachi thing, like this thing, like this pose. I would want to be like like laying down kind of spread eagle, and it would have something completely hokey on it. I don't know quite what the verbiage would be, but it would be, people would be concerned that I'm the goof, like that I'm the nut, but I'd be making fun of everybody else.
Right. Fair enough.
There's a little meta genius in there.
It's your billboard, Josh.
Yeah.
Next one. How has failure or apparent failure set you up for success? And do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Yeah. Ooh, gives me the chill. So, yeah, it's never a failure if you learn from it, right? So my favorite failure is the one that got me into real estate. So I was running a Walmart store, and the store just wasn't right, and I could not get leadership to understand that I needed to like flip the whole management staff. And one day, my boss's boss, who's new to the area, comes in and hates what he sees, rightfully so. And ultimately, it got me on the path to stepping out of that position that I could not stand anymore. And honestly, it was a God thing in retrospect. Like, I was miserable in my job, and I was turning into the person that my mother taught me not to be. And so the universe intervened and said, hey, here's your way out, and this is the push, the kick in the butt to get you going in the right direction. And so that's where I came to real estate, through that failure. And not being able to do what I had envisioned. But honestly, every day I kind of, going back to athletics, like, you don't want to lose the game at the end of the day. And every day, if you think about it, you could kind of make it a basketball game or whatever. Hey, we're in the first quarter from 9 to 11. We're establishing the foundation for the rest of our day. Is it going to be a success or is it not? Did we win that first quarter? And then by the end of the day, if you got a chance to relax with your children in the fourth quarter, you had one hell of a day, right? And that fear of failing in one of those corners, I think, goes a long way.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Love it. What is the book or books that you have gifted the most, and why?
Man, I hate to be up here acting like hoity-toity Christian dude, but like I talk about the Bible a lot. I meet a lot with a bunch of typically guys groups and stuff through our church. And it's funny how a lot of my businesses come from that sphere, but the sphere that you affiliate most with is probably where a lot of your business is going to come from. So anyways, I talk a lot about the Bible. We use the technology on the Bible app, and we go through lesson plans together. And there's some decent life lessons to be had in that book. So, and it can really correlate with work and improving your business as well. So the Bible.
Awesome. Last one. In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life the most?
5:30 wake up.
Oh.
5:30 you wake up, and for me, there was a pattern that I started to see in every panel discussion that I'll go to with top agents or top leaders in the world. And the one thing was they always woke up early and worked on themselves. And so a lot of coaching, what I talk about is, here's my story, and here's how I've seen improvement and growth in my life. It starts with working on you, because you can't work on other people and their problems if you're a mess. So I wake up at 5:30 every morning. I start with a prayer, Bible app, some journaling time, which I still say I'm no good at it, but it's good to kind of mind dump. And then some gratitudes. Gratitudes are something that's super powerful. It really kicks your day off right. I'm sometimes tired waking up at 5:30, but when I get to that gratitude portion, something just clicks. I'm like, man, I'm happy. I'm so glad that these things are going right in my life. And then from there, I'll do some working out. I like to run and do some push-ups. I'm getting old, so I need to work on my back muscles and stuff. So after that, though, it's kid time. Get the kids ready, and but waking up at 5:30 allows me so much more time in my day to get things done before the rest of the world even is awake. And so the early bird does get the worm. Most realtors start at 9, 10 o'clock or whatever. Well, I've already had half a day by then. And then conversely, it forces me to go to bed at a reasonable time. So therefore, my health and my sleep patterns are pretty darn healthy. So 5:30 wake up time, I started that about 2 years ago, and it has dramatically improved my health and outlook on life, I'd say.
I'll be at 5:25 tomorrow.
5:20 now for me.
I can't agree more. I really can't. I think maybe we had a conversation about this at Bold, but I found that, I mean, people think real estate agents sell houses, but people already made a decision on the house they're gonna buy, and they're actually purchasing a real estate agent, or they're doing business with someone, so we sell ourselves before we sell anything else. And so if you're not making your mind better, your body better, whatever that is, then you're gonna get left behind. Thanks for sharing that.
I love that. Awesome to have you. Great conversation.
Last question. What's the one question that we should have asked that we didn't about Josh?
Boy, I felt like I got a lot in there. You guys asked some really good stuff. I don't know that I've got
What's your favorite hobby?
Or what's your favorite food too? Hobby and food.
Golf.
Can you cook?
I can cook if you give me a recipe, yeah, man. Like, chili's my thing.
Woo,
Anyone
chili
can make
cook-off.
chili. Anyone can make chili, but, yeah, I like steaks, and we do steaks every Sunday pretty much, and
Yeah.
I perfected that art.
And golf, you said?
I enjoy golf. I didn't say I was great at it. I'm definitely better than you, but you a golfer?
I'm not.
It's probably a good thing.
But it's a great profession to get into if you're wanting to build a business. Like,
Right.
you get 3 hours, 4 hours with 3 other dudes. Share some bourbon. I like bourbon too.
Yep.
Beer.
Fair.
Deal.
Well, thank you for joining us. Tons of information, and everyone who's watching this, use Josh as a resource. His office is right next to the other Josh and Lori's.
They put me in the corner, but
Yeah.
in all honesty, like, put my number up there, 614-260-6522. I want to talk to you about anything, want to be a good resource for you, even if you're not in coaching, doesn't matter.